So Jay, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you, my friend?
I'm not too bad either. Thank you for asking. Well, tomorrow is the big day. We're on the eve of the album release. What kind of feelings and emotions are going through your head now?
I mean, we're excited, definitely. That's like the forefront of all the emotion is excitement. Like if you think we started writing these songs like almost 2 years ago, like and especially and you write something really cool and you're dying for people to hear it. We've had that feeling, just we've been carrying that for so long. So yeah, we're buzzing for people to hear it, but we're also I don't know, there are some feelings of like anxiety and stuff, because obviously we put so much time into the record that there's always that worry that it's not going to go down as well as you hoped it would. So it's mixed emotions, but mainly excited. Yeah.
That's good to hear because, well, one thing the previous album was received quite well. So, did that add any pressure or expectations, either self-imposed or from the outside?
It actually it gave us a little bit of a confidence boost.
Okay,
Obviously, Culling Culture being our debut release, we weren't sure how well that was going to be received. We had two singles out prior to that, but they were quite different from the whole of Culling Culture really. So we weren't sure how it was going to be received. But seeing how well the first one done, yeah, it has given us a lot of confidence, and it's made us want to experiment more and push ourselves more, you know, and
that
and
is
that's what.
great to hear.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into the new album, then, and kind of the music you've been making in the past couple of years, let's jump back to your own beginnings. Then, do you remember what made you want to be in a band?
I don't know. It was a weird progression, man. Like I never used to listen to any metal, any rock, or anything like that.
Okay,
I was very much like a rap fan. I was a big like Eminem fan,
sure.
you know. But my dad's a musician, so inevitably he bought me a guitar one birthday or a Christmas or so. I didn't touch it for a while, and then I started listening to bands like Muse and like Foo Fighters and stuff like that. So that's when I first picked it up, and then suddenly out of nowhere, I'm down tuning my guitar and I'm playing metal riffs and stuff. So it was a weird progression. Yeah, it's definitely not something I ever saw myself doing when I was super young. It come about when I was like 12, 13. That's when I was like, yeah, I could probably enjoy doing music.
But those, well, 12, 13 years old, those are very formative years. So what was it in that type of music, in the heavy metal, in the metalcore, that type of music that attracted you and that kind of appealed to you?
Probably just like the energy of it
Okay.
and the emotion. Like, I mean, I was a typical naive person when it comes to like metal and stuff. You have a basic idea of what it is, and you just think, oh, it's just like
Sure.
screaming vocals. No, that's not for me. And I thought it was just constant noise. It's only when I was first introduced to bands like Parkway Drive and Killswitch Engage and stuff. That's when I
Mhm.
first come across the emotional side to it, and I kind of realized, like, especially with the screams, um, they were, if anything, adding to the emotional value of it. And I think that's what it was really, and also just the fact that I noticed I'd enjoy playing metal songs on guitar way more than rocky stuff. So I like stuff, and I like groove as well. And I came across way more of that listening to metal. So inevitably I started playing more because I'd hear a cool song, I want to learn it, and I think that's just, I don't know. It's nice to play aggressive music. It's almost therapeutic.
I can well, I'm not a musician myself, but I can imagine that there's a cathartic element to it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
How do you see, and then especially from calling culture to negative energy, how do you see your own development as a guitar player and kind of as a songwriter in that sense?
I'll say Cullen culture definitely taught me elements of my playing that I want to keep, and it taught me all the things that I want to step away from.
Mm.
Definitely. So I would say, I mean, for this album in particular, from a guitarist perspective, I was way more conscious about implementing like groovy elements to stuff as opposed to just like consistent stuff. I wanted to target more of the groovy side of it. I wanted to give something that Willem, our drummer, can really express himself to as well. And I've been way more attentive to how I've been playing things, you know,
Mm.
as opposed to just these are the notes I'm going to play. I've been giving it way more thought as to like, okay, how do I want to hit each of these notes? You know, and I brought a lot of attention to that when I was tracking the guitar as well. It wasn't just, oh yeah, that's a clean take. You know, I played everything and it's in time. It was more like, am I hitting all of these notes as I want to hear them be hit? You know.
Yeah, there comes a point where you're proficient enough with the instrument that you can play with feel and play with emotion and the way like you say touch the way you touch the guitar and um, is there one song then maybe a bit of guitar playing or it can be anything but that sticks out to you that you were really proud of the way it turned out?
There's a few moments on the new album, definitely. We got a track called Nepotism,
Mm.
and that's like basically just comprised of like pretty much all of my favorite riffs that I write across the process. And it just ended up in one song. It's just full of groovy riffs and stuff. There's a track called It's Not the End. And we all got super expressive on that. You know, it's very different. It's a super long track, but that allowed me to, you know, I enjoy writing clean sections and stuff.
Okay.
You know, we wanted to make a heavy album, so there's not always the opportunity to account for that, you know. But on this one, I was able to enjoy writing more clean stuff, you know, and it all came together really well. But I would probably say the guitar solo in Trauma Euphoria, which we put out yesterday, because that took a lot of work, and to be honest, it was a pain in the ass. But I've said that's the last guitar solo I'm gonna do, so I thought I'm gonna try and make it as much of a nightmare as I can for myself, so that I'm not tempted to write anymore in the future because I don't enjoy playing them. I enjoy writing
Okay.
them, but playing them. But
Well, that's an interesting point because I'm fascinated by guitar solos because you hear two ways of working. Sometimes the guitarist has something in their head the way they want to play it, and sometimes they just listen to the track, play along with it, and whatever ends up being what they come up in the moment that's going to be on the album. So how do you? Like, you just mentioned you don't like playing them yourself, so
um, every time I've written a solo, we've never started writing a track and I've gone, yeah, I fancy a solo. I might do a solo. You know, there's always been a section that's empty, and it's always like, you know, if the key that it's in or the chords that are being played, I've always just had little melodies popping into my head. You know, where I've been like, oh, I've got to do a solo, man. So that happened on Trauma Euphoria. I didn't want to do any solos on this album because, like I said, I hate doing them live. I hate the pressure.
well, why is it the pressure and the fact that all the focus is on you and that if one mistake everybody can hear it?
A little bit. It's more the fact that I'm not really a lead player. You know, I don't really
Okay.
enjoy playing lead stuff. I like playing more rhythm stuff. Obviously, being the only guitar player, I don't really have a lot of choice in that. But yeah, I don't mind all eyes be on me, but it's more I don't know, the stress of it,
Mm.
and I just don't enjoy it, and I can't get into it as much. I mean, it depends what it is, but yeah, I mean, when we were writing the song, we weren't sure if we were how many times we were going to do the last chorus. So um there was like a few bars at the end that had no vocal in it, and it was just instrumental. And I heard that playing, and I had all these little ideas, and I was like, yeah, you know what? One more time, I'll do a solo. Just one more solo. And, you know, I wrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it, and then changed it when I was tracking it. So there's a few drafts of it. You know, I'm not I mean, my theory sucks, so I can't improvise for shit. So it was very much like written deeply as opposed to like, oh yeah, this just come to my head. I just improvise this. But yeah, that is definitely one part of the album. It shits me up the idea that I've got to do it live, but I'm glad I've done it still because I'm quite proud of how it turned out.
It's also nice to have a little project ahead of you, right? You can you have some time to figure it out. You
Yeah,
mentioned it's not the end, and that song obviously it stood out to me as well on the album. The mixture, the dynamics throughout between clean and heavy. Obviously, the subject matter. When a song comes together, where does it start? Does it start with a bit of lyric? Does it start with a riff that you come up with? Or how does a song like that kind of come to be?
the majority of the time it'll come from like one guitar riff.
Okay.
So I mean, I struggle to write full songs, and I think that's a bit of a cliche of like guitar players and stuff. You start something, start something else. It will normally start with a riff, and then either one riff and we all develop it together, and see where it's going to go, or I'll have the majority of a song or a full song, and I'll bring that to the guys, and we'll change stuff about, and see what works, see what doesn't. We quite often we have like a back burner of riffs, is what we were calling it, which is a bunch of loose guitar riffs in a Reaper project. And then whenever we've got a section and it needs something there, we'll go through everything, change BPMs, almost like a back catalogue, so to speak. But quite often we write to Willem, our drummer. He'll come up with a cool pattern, and that'll be like the catalyst for a new song. A couple of times Meg has written all the vocal, and we've written to that, which creates a completely different dynamic. It's quite an interesting way of writing. Because obviously, like a lot of the time, if you're writing from a guitar part, obviously I've got to start off the entire idea. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing already there to work with. Whereas, say Meg's come up with something, I've already got vocal there, and I can write to that as opposed to pulling ideas from nothing.
Right. No, that makes sense, and it's a reciprocal relationship, right? If there's lyrics that can influence the music that is being played, and other way around as well. So when it comes to the lyrics, then is that something you discuss amongst the band, or is it kind of okay, Megan, you do your thing, and we'll keep our hands off it?
That is loosely discussed.
Okay.
I mean, themes are discussed. We talk about themes. If there's something we all want to do a track about, we'll bring it forward and we'll air it. A lot of the time, if Meg has a theme in mind, she'll pitch it to us and say, how do you feel? Yeah, the majority of the time lyrics are just Meg. Merrick, the guy who produced the album, Merrick De La Fuente of Floodgate Audio. I know he gives a helping hand every now and then with lyrics, but it's normally left to Meg a lot of the time.
Is there a song that ended up on the album that you were, I don't know if surprised is the right word, but that you were, well, yeah, let's just go with surprised. That you were surprised by in terms of the themes, or that you heard Meg say something that you hadn't heard before?
Not necessarily, nothing that comes to mind, but that's because of how well I know Meg.
Fair enough.
I know a lot of the time. Obviously, I know things that are going on in her life, and I know if I write a really heavy song around around the time we're writing the album, I know certain themes that she's probably gonna want to express and things like that. So yeah, a lot of the things on the album, I sort of saw them coming. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I saw them coming from way off. But it makes it easier to write to, because sometimes when you have a theme of a song, it's like, okay, we want to do a track about this, so it needs to sound kind of like this, or it needs to have this element of suspense, or it needs to be like a little bit deeper. I mean, like with It's Not the End, that's about Meg's late grandfather. So obviously we're not gonna write a song that's just like ignorantly heavy. It's got to portray the various emotions that surround that topic, which is why it's heavy in some parts and quite raw in others.
Sure, and obviously that's why a song like Extremist is the way it is as well.
Yeah, the thing I like about that song is it's I mean, it's called Extremist, and it's one of the most extreme songs we've ever written. It's intentionally super fast paced and harsh on the ear. That's the whole point of it. The verses were meant to be like super quick, super choppy, super relentless. That's why we went so stupid at the end with the breakdown of like pitch shifting it way too low and stuff, making like crazy noises. But it's I mean, we like doing stuff like that. I like the idea that we have a song called Extremist and it sounds exactly how you would imagine it to.
But you mentioned as we started the interview, kind of there's always a little bit of anxiety how people will perceive the new album and all that stuff. And kind of, I think Anti-fetish is kind of a little bit about this as well, about how people treat each other online, I suppose. But having that in the back of the mind, Does that come into play in writing, or is that all kind of afterwards? Is the kind of you focus first on the music and then afterwards, okay, we'll see what happens.
I mean, yeah, a lot of the time it's just because we knew we wanted to write a heavy album. And,
Mm.
so if you write something heavy, the instrumentation is heavy, there are various different things that can go with that song because, there are various different like angry themes
Mm.
that can go on top of something like that. But the idea behind Anti-fetish is something we wanted to talk about and we wanted to make a track about, you know. And I mean the whole idea of it is quite self-explanatory, but the whole idea is just calling people out that compare constantly, and that's what you see as an artist. It's just constant comparisons.
I wrote the line down. This ain't a competitive sport, and that's so true. I mean, especially, I mean, you're a guitarist. I mean, that debate about who's better than who, it's just so obnoxious and pointless. And obviously, I work in music media, so it's part kind of we try to stay away from it. But if we post something that has a famous guitarist name in it, the comments underneath will be people, oh, he wasn't that good, oh, he was the best ever, blah blah blah. It's just this pointless competitiveness in a way.
What like, especially if you're in a new band and you're up and coming, what you'll soon realize is that no matter what you do as a band, no matter what you put out, someone will be crying about it. Like the first two singles we put out, "Cross My Heart, Hope to Die" and "Anti-fetish," a lot of people were a bit upset that there were no clean vocals on it. But then we put
Mm.
out "Trauma" the other day. A lot of people were upset that there were clean vocals on it. So there is no way you can win. So you have to accept that as an artist, that no matter what you put out, someone's gonna find a way to get angry about it.
But
And once you accept that, you can be at peace with it.
what you just now mentioned, I think that's very true in terms of kind of the overall sentiment of the album as well. That you kind of need to. We all have this perfect idealistic view of the world, but that obviously that's not true. So we're kind of figuring out. Well, this is reality. This isn't the future I maybe dreamt of when I was 10, but we have to make it work in a way.
Yeah,
Is that fair to say? Kind of that's kind of the sentiment on the album.
yeah, definitely. Like there's just especially like we're saying with Anti-fetish, like no matter what you do, people are gonna hate on it. People's expectations are always gonna be something completely different than what you've put out. And there's no way of there's nothing you can do about that. There's
Mm.
there's nothing you can do about that. And like this is what we always we say to we're friends with a lot of smaller bands, and they're putting out their first like singles and stuff like that, and they're getting a lot of hate. And what we always say to them is like, people, it's inevitable. People are going to shit on you no matter what you do. And a lot of the time, if people are getting angry by your music, probably a good thing, because at least it means it's you don't want to make something that everyone loves, because then I mean I don't think that's possible anyway. But
Let's go to the album title then, Negative Energy, because there are people, and especially online, it's very easy to have negative energy because there are no repercussions. When you're face to face with somebody else, you can see a tear in their eye, you can see the hurt it might cause. So that title, Negative, where did that come from for you? Or for the band, I should say.
I mean
Negative.
it kind of summarizes all of the themes that you see on the album, because I mean, writing music for us is a good way of like ventilating. When you feel like shit, it's a good way of getting stuff off your chest. So that's what we do. All of us in the band, we've had a difficult couple of years. There's been quite a lot of low points. So
Sure.
it's kind of like the healthiest way as a musician you can deal with that, and you can process that is through writing and through music. So it's what we've been saying is that negative energy, it literally is negative energy, because it's just a bunch of stuff that we came out with when we were feeling really shit, and we had something to say that we couldn't say, so we had to put it into music, and that's pretty much where it came from. And that's
Okay.
why, even though I mean we wanted to make a heavy album, because I mean we've been frustrated as shit, like, but that's why a lot of the themes in the album are quite deep. It's quite a deep album.
And that's why, I mean, part of it is also if you listen to a song like Default, I mean that kind of encompasses the last couple of years and being stuck at home, and but the other side of that is you're also stuck with your own thoughts a lot. So maybe those thoughts go a little bit deeper, as you mentioned. One last question I have: you mentioned dreading to play guitar solos live. Tomorrow is the release. So where in the preparations for playing live are you guys?
We're playing in a week's time,
Okay.
and playing Form Euphoria in a week's time, and I have been practicing extensively. It's I'm pretty much all right with it now, but it took a
Okay.
work. But it's still like, everything's different on stage. Everything is different. Like, it's okay. Like, I've been practicing, in my house and at the studio and stuff like that. But as soon as you go on stage, everything's different.
You have
So
some actual eyeballs looking at you.
yeah, exactly. And the pressure, I'm quite good with pressure now.
Okay.
Don't let it get to me. But our set's feeling great. Our set is we're only playing two color culture tracks. The rest of it is all negative energy. Load of songs we haven't played live before. And we're dying to get on stage, to be honest. We're so excited with the new set.
Sounds excellent. Jay, may I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, mate.